April 1945. Northern Germany collapses by inches, not miles. Roads choke with refugees, burned trucks, discarded helmets. In the gray light before dawn, Jeff Writer Liesel Weber, 22 years old, signals clerk of the Luftwaffe, stands with her hands raised beside a hedgerow. Her uniform is too clean for a retreat, her boots rubbed raw. She has memorized radio codes, not prayers. Now she needs one. British infantrymen emerge through the mist khaki battledress, steel helmets beaded with dew, Lee Enfield rifles steady but not shaking. A sergeant steps forward, older, eyes like flint. He counts the women. 13. They are auxiliaries clerks. Drivers, radio operators caught between orders that vanished and a front that swallowed itself. The sergeant nods once. You're prisoners now, he says, calm, almost kind. No shouting, no victory speech. War has moved on. They march west. The road hums with distant artillery, a low animal sound. Liesel keeps her gaze on the boots ahead of her. She tastes copper. A British corporal cracks a joke she doesn't understand. Someone laughs anyway. Fear does that. It fills the silence with noise. At a crossroads, a burned panzer smolders, paint blistered, iron skin peeled. A small sign points toward Hamburg. The arrow looks like a lie. By afternoon they reach a temporary holding site, barbed wire strung between posts, sandbags stacked like tired men. Tea steams from dented mugs. The British move with practiced economy, hands clean, weapons oiled. Liesel notices details because details keep her breathing. Webbing buckles, a Sten gun propped against a crate, a radio mast trembling in the wind. A truck arrives at dusk. Canvas sides, white star painted over grime. Orders come down quietly. The women are loaded, seated on benches. The engine coughs, then finds its voice. As the truck pulls away, Liesel catches the sergeant's eye. There is no hatred there. That unsettles her more than rage would. They cross the channel under blackout. The sea is black glass, cold and indifferent. Liesel vomits once and wipes her mouth with her sleeve. No one comments. England smells different: coal smoke, damp wool, fried fat. The camp appears beyond hedges and low stone walls. Watchtowers squat against the sky. A sign reads POW camp in clean, confident letters. Processing takes hours. Names taken. Items logged. Needles prick skin for typhus checks. The women are issued blankets that itch and smell of disinfectant. Then, unexpectedly, they are led to a long hut. Light spills from the windows, warm and yellow. Inside, trestle tables hold tin plates. Steam rises. A British cook sets a basket down and lifts a lid. Golden strips, thick cut, crisp at the edges. Another tin opens, white paper wraps, sharp smell cutting the air. Fish and chips, the cook says, cheerful. Vinegar if you like. The women stare. Hunger makes liars of the senses. Liesel's stomach tightens, then stills. She reaches for a fork and the room falls quiet. The smell hits first: hot oil, salt, the clean bite of malt vinegar. It fills the hut and pushes aside everything Liesel Weber has learned to expect from captivity. No shouting, no fists, just food, laid out like a peace offering. She tells herself it is a trick. Tricks are safer than kindness. A British guard gestures with his chin. Go on, he says. It'll get cold. His voice carries no edge. That makes it worse. Liesel lifts the fork. Her hand trembles, then steadies. She pierces a strip of potato, watches steam curl upward, and brings it to her mouth. The crunch is loud in the quiet room. Salt blooms on her tongue. Fat coats her throat. For a second, she is not a prisoner. She is a girl in a kitchen somewhere far away. Before uniforms made promises they couldn't keep. Across the table, Anneliese Kruger, a former driver with grease still under her nails, laughs once too hard. It's good, she says, as if confessing a sin. Someone else starts to cry without sound. Another woman stares at her plate as though it might explode. The fish flakes apart under the fork, white and steaming. Vinegar stings the nose, sharp enough to hurt. Liesel hesitates, then pours a line across the batter. The smell snaps something inside her chest. She takes a bite and stops chewing. Silence spreads. Not the awkward kind. The kind that presses inward. The women eat slowly now, eyes down, faces closed. No one speaks. Each mouthful lands like a question with no safe answer. Who are these people who feed us like this? What do they want us to think? At the far end of the hut, a British lieutenant watches without comment. He's young, cheeks hollowed by weeks of bad sleep. He says something to the cook, low and private. The cook shrugs, pours more vinegar. Outside, rain taps the tin roof, a gentle, patient sound. Liesel notices the guards aren't eating. They stand back, letting the moment exist on its own terms. She finishes her plate and feels full for the first time in months. Full and hollowed out. Guilt sits heavy, uninvited. Somewhere, people starve. Somewhere, the war keeps killing. And here she is, alive, fed by the enemy. After the meal, they're handed tea. Proper tea, hot and dark, with milk. Liesel burns her lip and doesn't care. Anneliese whispers, maybe they want us soft. No one answers. Lights out comes gently. No barking orders. The women file back to their hut, blankets under arms. Liesel lies awake, listening to the wind whirring the wire. She counts breaths. She thinks of home, of radios crackling with lies, of how easy it was to believe. Footsteps stop outside the door. A shadow passes the window. Keys jingle. The latch lifts. Liesel sits up, heart hammering, as the door begins to open. The door opens only a hand's width. A British corporal peers in, rain-darkened helmet tilted back. Head count, he says quietly. The tension drains a notch, but not away. He counts, nods, closes the door again. The latch clicks. In the darkness, someone lets out a breath that sounds like a sob. Morning brings routine. The camp wakes with whistles and boots on gravel. Liesel learns the rules by watching. Line up, roll call, work details assigned without drama. The women are separated from the men. Housed on the far edge of the compound near an orchard just beginning to bud. Spring tries anyway. Liesel is put on radio maintenance irony with a dry taste. She cleans British sets under supervision, learning the logic of unfamiliar dials. The sergeant who oversees the room SGT, Thomas Bell, keeps his distance. He answers questions, never lectures. When a valve burns out, he hands Liesel a replacement without comment. Competence earns a thin, professional respect. At lunch, the food is plain bread, stew, apples. No ceremony, no vinegar. The women talk again, cautiously. Anneliese speculates about exchange camps. Another woman insists the British are playing a longer game. Liesel says nothing. She watches. SGT. Bell adjusts an aerial and wonders what kindness costs in a war economy. The days settle into a rhythm. Work, meals, counts, nights, rumors. Drift through the wire like smoke. Berlin encircled. Hitler dead, surrender close. Each rumor pulls in a different direction. The guards say nothing. The camp radio plays British news at low volume. Words stripped of triumph. Just facts, dates, places, losses. On the fifth evening, rain turns to sleet. The women are called to the mess again. Not all camps do this, someone whispers. Maybe it's a test. The tables are set as before. This time, no baskets. Just mugs. Tea, the cook says. Sit. A lieutenant steps forward. He removes his helmet, sets it aside. You'll be moved tomorrow, he says. South. Better facilities. He waits as the words land. Tonight something familiar. The baskets appear. Fish, chips, vinegar. The room reacts sharp. Intakes of breath. A ripple of disbelief. Anneliese laughs again, softer now. Liesel's hands curl into her sleeves. They eat. Faster this time. Still quiet. Outside, a British band rehearses somewhere. Distant brass struggling against the weather. The sound drifts in, thin and brave. Halfway through the meal, the lieutenant speaks again, not to them in particular. Some of us lost brothers, he says. Some lost cities. He looks at the plates. Food doesn't fix it, but it keeps you from becoming something else. Liesel swallows. She wants to argue. She wants to thank him. She does neither. When the plates are cleared, SGT. Bell meets her eyes, just once. A question sits there, unasked. That night, as they pack their few belongings, Liesel hears a guard tell another. Tomorrow's run is long. Trucks idle beyond the wire. Engines rumble like distant thunder. She lies back on her bunk, staring at the dark. South. Better facilities. Long runs end in many places. She closes her eyes and listens to the rain stop, replaced by something heavier, engines starting, one by one. The convoy moves at dawn. Canvas-covered trucks, engines grumbling, tires biting wet roads. Liesel sits on a bench with her pack between her boots, counting hedges as they slide past. England rolls by in soft greens and stone grays. Farmhouses tucked into the land as if hiding. No one speaks. The road noise fills the gaps. At a village crossroads, the convoy slows. Children stand with bicycles, watching. One boy lifts a hand in a half-wave, and sure. Liesel looks away. The truck lurches forward again. They stop before noon at a junction marked by a chalkboard sign. Reception camp 12 miles. Tea is passed up the sides of the trucks. A guard hands Liesel a mug, fingers careful not to touch. You all right? He asks, like it matters. She nods. It's easier than answering. The camp sits in a shallow valley, wire gleaming with rain. Barracks are newer here, roofs intact. A hospital hut squats near the gate, red cross bright against the gray. Processing repeats names, numbers, a stamp on a card. The women are assigned bunks, then sent to wash. Hot water appears from pipes. Steam fogs the mirrors. Liesel presses her palms against the porcelain, grounding herself in the heat. In the afternoon, work details are posted. Liesel is reassigned to translation. Her English is functional, clipped from intercepted broadcasts and manuals. She is led to an office where papers stack like sandbags. Maps on the wall show front lines scribbled in pencil, lines that shift daily. A civilian woman in uniform waits Miss Harper, hair pin tight, eyes measuring. "You'll help with interviews," she says. "Not interrogations." She pauses. "Answer honestly. Translate honestly." It sounds like advice, not an order. The first interview is a man Liesel does not know. Luftwaffe clerk, 19, shaking. The questions are plain. Names, units, dates. Liesel translates, steady. The man answers. No tricks, no raised voices. When it's done, he's let out. Miss Harper nods once. "Thank you." That evening, supper is stew and bread again. Comfort food, rationed. The women eat and talk quietly. Annalise says the camp feels different, cleaner, safer. The word hangs in the air, daring contradiction. After dark, Liesel is summoned back to the mess. She expects tea. Instead, the cook grins and lifts a lid. Fish, chips, vinegar. A murmur runs the room. Someone laughs, almost relieved. Liesel feels a tightness loosen, then return. Sharper. Repetition turns surprise into meaning. This is no accident. She sits with her plate, the smell rising, and notices new faces, men in different uniforms at the edge of the hall. Not guards. Observers. A chaplain, perhaps. An officer she hasn't seen before. Eyes not unkind, but attentive. SGD. Bell steps in, stops by her table. "Long day," he says. "Eat while it's hot." He hesitates, then adds, "South is quiet. For now." Liesel nods. She eats. The taste is the same. That's the problem. Familiar things are dangerous. They make promises. Later, back in her bunk, she hears distant engines again, but fewer this time. The camp settles. Somewhere nearby, a radio crackles with news she does not translate. She closes her eyes, and for the first time since capture, sleep comes fast until a whistle cuts the night, sharp and urgent. The whistle pulls Liesel out of sleep like a hook. She swings her legs down, boots finding the floor by memory. Outside, lanterns bob along the paths. No shouting, just urgency. A medic jogs past, coat flapping. "Hospital hut," someone says. "Fall." They assemble in the dark, 13 women wrapped in blankets. Breath ghosts the air. Miss Harper appears with 2 orderlies. "Volunteers," she says. Language, calm voices. Her eyes settle on Liesel. "You." Inside the hospital hut, a young British private lies on a cot. Face gray, teeth chattering. Shrapnel wound reopened, infection creeping. His fingers clutch the sheet. He mutters, half conscious. Liesel translates his broken German, his mother's maiden name. "A village by a river, a dog he had as a boy." None of it helps the bleeding, but it steadies his breath. A doctor works fast. Orders snap, clipped and precise. When the private spasms, Liesel keeps talking, soft, neutral words, not prayers, facts. "You're here." They're fixing it. The lie fits the moment. An hour later, the crisis ebbs. The private sleeps. The doctor wipes his hands. "Good," he says, to no one in particular. Miss Harper nods at Liesel. "Thank you." Dawn bleeds in through the hut windows. The women are dismissed back to barracks. Annalise grips Liesel's arm. "You helped him," she whispers, amazed. Liesel shrugs. Helping has become a shape she recognizes. That afternoon, interviews resume. This time, Liesel translates for a British intelligence officer, older, tired, careful with words. He asks about frequencies, procedures, who signed which orders. Liesel answers where she can. Says I don't know where she can't. The officer accepts it. He stamps the file and closes it. That'll do. At supper, there is stew again. No fish. The absence is loud. Someone asks the cook if they'll have it tomorrow. He smiles without answering. Evening brings a letter. One letter, folded, passed down the row. It's for Annalise from a cousin in Bavaria. Dated weeks ago. Found in a captured mail sack. Annalise reads, then sinks onto her bunk, hands shaking. The letter says the town is gone, flattened. Names listed like receipts. Liesel sits with her, says nothing. There is nothing to translate. Night falls. The camp hums, a low, contained sound. Liesel steps outside for air. SGD. Bell stands by the wire, smoking, looking toward the dark fields. He doesn't turn. There's talk, he says. War won't end clean. It never does. She nods, though he can't see it. Why the food? She asks, finally. He exhales, smoke thin as thread. Because hunger is easy, he says. Understanding isn't. A truck rolls past the gate, headlights hooded. The engine note is wrong, higher, hurried. Bell straightens. A runner appears, breathless. Words pass between them, too low to catch. Bell turns to Liesel. His face is set. Back inside, he says. Now. She retreats as the siren begins low, not an alarm for bombs. Something else. Something administrative and dangerous. In the barracks, the women whisper. Liesel sits on her bunk, listening as orders crackle over the camp radio. Short, decisive. South was quiet. For now. The siren dies as quickly as it began. Silence follows, heavier than noise. Orders ripple through the camp. Guards repositioned, gates checked, radios manned. Liesel lies still, counting breaths, feeling the camp tighten around itself. By morning, the reason becomes visible. New arrivals. Trucks roll in underguard, tarps snapping. Men step down German POWs from the east. Mud-caked, hollow-eyed, older than their years. They move like they expect blows. They flinch when a boot scrapes gravel. The women are kept back, but Liesel catches fragments. These prisoners came through places the British won't name yet. Camps within camps. Stories that don't fit into reports. Miss Harper's face is drawn. Translate if asked, she says. Otherwise, stay clear. At midday, Liesel is called to the offices. A British major waits, uniform immaculate, eyes careful. On the desk lies a photograph turned face down. We're consolidating, he says. There will be statements. Not today. He slides the photo aside without showing it. We need calm. Outside, tensions brush the wire. A German NCO shouts at a guard, voice hoarse. The guard doesn't raise his rifle. He raises his hand. The NCO stops, confused by the lack of response. The moment passes. Barely. Supper comes early. Bread, soup and baskets, fish and chips, vinegar. The room reacts differently now. Murmurs rise, edged with something like anger. A man spits on the floor and is removed without force. The women take their plates. Liesel eats slowly, watching reactions ripple outward. Food as ballast, food as boundary. Across the room, one of the new prisoners stares at the plate as if it's a weapon. He looks up at Liesel, eyes red. Why? He asks in German. She searches for an answer that won't collapse. Because it's here, she says. It's not enough, but it's true. That night, the camp radio crackles with news unofficial. Clipped, cities named, numbers implied. Liesel translates for herself, words hitting like cold water. The war is ending in pieces, and none of them fit cleanly together. After lights out, SGD. Bell knocks on the women's hut. Come with me, he says to Liesel. They walk along the wire, past watchtowers, to a small shed near the orchard. Inside, a portable radio hums. Bell turns the dial. A BBC voice reads a list: places liberated, camps discovered. The words are measured. The meaning is not. Bell watches Liesel's face. You should hear it, he says. Someone should. She listens until her jaw aches from holding steady. When it's over, she nods. They walk back in silence. She retreats as the siren begins low, not an alarm for bombs. Something else. Something administrative and dangerous. In the barracks, the women whisper. Liesel sits on her bunk, listening as orders crackle over the camp radio. Short, decisive. South was quiet. For now. The siren dies as quickly as it began. Silence follows, heavier than noise. Orders ripple through the camp. Guards repositioned, gates checked, radios manned. Liesel lies still, counting breaths, feeling the camp tighten around itself. By morning, the reason becomes visible. New arrivals. Trucks roll in underguard, tarps snapping. Men step down German POWs from the east. Mud-caked, hollow-eyed, older than their years. They move like they expect blows. They flinch when a boot scrapes gravel. The women are kept back, but Liesel catches fragments. These prisoners came through places the British won't name yet. Camps within camps. Stories that don't fit into reports. Miss Harper's face is drawn. Translate if asked, she says. Otherwise, stay clear. At midday, Liesel is called to the offices. A British major waits, uniform immaculate, eyes careful. On the desk lies a photograph turned face down. We're consolidating, he says. There will be statements. Not today. He slides the photo aside without showing it. We need calm. Outside, tensions brush the wire. A German NCO shouts at a guard, voice hoarse. The guard doesn't raise his rifle. He raises his hand. The NCO stops, confused by the lack of response. The moment passes. Barely. Supper comes early. Bread, soup and baskets, fish and chips, vinegar. The room reacts differently now. Murmurs rise, edged with something like anger. A man spits on the floor and is removed without force. The women take their plates. Liesel eats slowly, watching reactions ripple outward. Food as ballast, food as boundary. Across the room, one of the new prisoners stares at the plate as if it's a weapon. He looks up at Liesel, eyes red. Why? He asks in German. She searches for an answer that won't collapse. Because it's here, she says. It's not enough, but it's true. That night, the camp radio crackles with news unofficial. Clipped, cities named, numbers implied. Liesel translates for herself, words hitting like cold water. The war is ending in pieces, and none of them fit cleanly together. After lights out, SGD, Bell knocks on the women's hut. Come with me, he says to Liesel. They walk along the wire, past watchtowers, to a small shed near the orchard. Inside, a portable radio hums. Bell turns the dial. A BBC voice reads a list: places liberated, camps discovered. The words are measured. The meaning is not. Bell watches Liesel's face. You should hear it, he says. Someone should. She listens until her jaw aches from holding steady. When it's over, she nods. They walk back in silence. At dawn, orders are posted. Transfers, releases, repatriations soon conditional. Careful. The women gather their things. Anneliese squeezes Liesel's hand. Do you think they'll remember us? She asks. Liesel thinks of vinegar on hot batter, of calm voices in dark huts, of questions without safe answers. They'll remember what they choose, she says. The mess opens one last time before departure. The cook waits, lids closed. A pause stretches, then he lifts them. Fish, chips, vinegar. The women eat. Quiet, deliberate. The meaning has shifted again. Outside, engines start, not hurried now, purposeful. Liesel stands, plate empty, and feels the war loosen its grip by a fraction. Enough to hurt. The trucks line up after breakfast. Not many. Enough. Names are called from a clipboard, careful and slow. Liesel's name comes midway through the list. She steps forward, heart thudding, pack light on her shoulders. Around her, the camp holds its breath. They move out under a pale sky. The road south cuts through farmland waking to spring. Lambs cling to their mothers. Plows wait by gates. War recedes here without apology. Liesel watches the fields and tries not to imagine borders snapping back into place. At a rail siding, the convoy halts. A British officer addresses them, voice even. You're being transferred to a holding center in Belgium, he says, from their repatriation as arrangements allow. He doesn't promise timelines. He doesn't apologize. Both would be lies. The train is old stock, wooden benches, windows that rattle. Guards take positions, rifles slung, posture relaxed but present. Liesel sits opposite Anneliese. They trade a look that contains months. The whistle blows. The train pulls, slow and patient. They cross the channel again, daylight this time. White weight cutting blue. The women cluster at the rail, hair whipped by wind. No one sings, no one prays. The coast of England slips away, solid and ordinary, like a person turning their back after doing what they can. Belgium is scarred and stubborn. Stations patched with fresh timber. Signs were painted. The holding center sits near a bombed marshalling yard, cranes frozen mid-reach. Processing repeats, kinder than before, shorter. Liesel's card is stamped again. That night, they're fed in a refectory rebuilt from rubble. Bread, soupan once more, baskets appear. Fish and chips, vinegar. Anneliese laughs softly, shaking her head. Even hair, she says. The laugh breaks, turns into a breath. Liesel eats and realizes the ritual has followed them like a message carried by hand. Not mercy, not punishment. A marker. A Belgian nurse pauses by Liesel's table. You speak English? She asks. Liesel nods. The nurse lowers her voice. Tomorrow, the lists go up. Some go home. Some wait. She straightens. Eat. After supper, Liesel walks the perimeter. Wire. Lights. Guards fewer now. Beyond the fence, a city exhales. Somewhere, a church bell rings, off-key. She thinks of radios, of truth arriving late and incomplete. She thinks of the British privates breathing, steady at last. In the barracks, Anneliese packs and repacks, hands restless. If I go, she says, not looking up. If you don't, she stops. Liesel reaches over, grips her wrist. We meet again, she says, choosing certainty like a tool. Morning breaks with fog. Lists are posted. Names cluster around paper. Anneliese's name is there. Liesel's is not. Anneliese presses her forehead to Liesel's for a second, fierce and brief. Then she's gone, swallowed by movement. The mess opens for those who remain. The cook different face, same hands waits until they sit. He lifts the lid. Fish, chips, vinegar.